All right, the state legislative session is in full swing right now. A lot happening at the Capitol in Baton Rouge. It's an election year, and not surprisingly, a lot of bills dealing with criminal justice related issues are making their way through the State House and the State Senate. Joining us right now, New Orleans based State Representative Stephanie Helferty. We appreciate your time coming on right now.
Thanks for having me, Travers.
All right, you have a bill that deals with more transparency in the juvenile justice system and for crime victims as it relates to juvenile crime. Obviously, a lot of bills. I know that Debbie Villio, the state representative from Metairie, has one that targets 3 parishes. We'll talk about that in a second. But your bill specifically, what do you hope to gain for crime victims when it comes to juvenile justice reform?
Sure. Travers, this is House Bill 160. It's currently pending the Criminal Justice Committee, and actually worked on this bill with the Jefferson Parish DA's office and the chief of their juvenile division to look at these elements of the Children's Code. And one of the things, and probably the biggest thing that this bill does, is it opens up juvenile court proceedings in the cases of second offense felonies and violent crimes. So it opens those up to the public. And my thought on that is, if this is a violent crime that's been committed, I think the public, everyone in that community, has the right to know who is potentially responsible for that crime, who is accused of that crime.
And let's just break this down here. Your district covers New Orleans, Lakefront, Lakeview, as well as Metairie. That's why you work with the Jefferson Parish DA,
Sure.
because a big chunk of your district is Lakefront, Metairie in Jefferson Parish. Is there any pushback on a bill like this? Because juvenile records in this state are greatly protected, highly sealed. Is there any pushback on, hey, juveniles who commit violent crimes should be protected? Because as everybody watching well knows, we have seen a big spike in juvenile violent crime in New Orleans and in parts of Jefferson Parish.
Sure. And I think thinking about that, there's also the rights of the victims, and there's the rights of the everyday citizen out there to feel safe in their community and live their life peacefully. So while this bill also opens up those court proceedings for second offense felony and violent crimes, and we're specifying those too, it also gives victims of juvenile crime some additional rights. So for instance, it removes the requirement that the victim must request to be consulted by the DA in order to have their views heard regarding the disposition of their case. So right now in the Children's Code, the victim would technically have to ask the DA for this right. This gives the victim that right automatically.
Is this something that is needed in this part of the state? Obviously, like I said, your district is New Orleans, but it's also Jefferson Parish, and we have seen a bump in crime there. We've done stories on this, and you have heard this from constituents, that they're frustrated when a juvenile is arrested for a crime of violence. Let's just say a carjacking where a gun is involved, or an armed robbery where somebody gets a gun put in their face. It's a scary situation that no one should ever have to go through. Mm-hmm. But are you hearing from constituents that they're frustrated because they feel like they run into essentially a stone wall with the juvenile justice system and the protection laws that we have?
I believe there is frustration by members of the community, residents in my district. And this is looking at the victims of this. This is additionally one of the other things that this bill does. It redefines victim to include victims of all crimes, not just victims of violent crimes. So right now in the Children's Code, we will be bringing the Children's Code in line with Title 46, which is the victims' rights law for other victims. So this will redefine the term victim in the Children's Code to mean not just violent crimes, but also property crimes, other crimes.
So one of your colleagues, Debbie Villio from Metairie, has a bill. It deals with 3 parishes: Caddo, which is Shreveport; EBR, East Baton Rouge, which is Baton Rouge, and Orleans. It would essentially create a database to have violent crimes put on a database, even if a juvenile commits that. Is it surprising to you, with the uptick of violence and the fact that it's an election year, that you're not only seeing that bill, but a lot of bills dealing with justice and criminal justice issues in 2023?
Well, I think this is in line with what we're seeing and what we're hearing from our constituents. But this follows. I had a bill last year that expanded access and expanded the limits to the Crime Victims Reparations Fund, so that victims of violent crime can go to this fund and receive payment whether that's, medical bills, lost wages, so on and so forth. So really, to me, this is looking at the victims, trying to understand how we can help them through this process.
A couple of years ago, when you were in the legislature, the governor backed a criminal justice reform package. Some would make the argument right now that some of these bills are aimed at maybe clawing back some of those criminal justice reforms. I believe there was one that would give more judges wiggle room on negligent homicide. I think you have another one, I believe, with Representative Schlegel that also targets criminal justice. Are these needed? Is this just a hot button issue that crime is impacting everybody? It doesn't know parish lines, and that all of these crime bills are an effort to try to make people safer in Southeast Louisiana?
So I think you mentioned the bill that I have with Representative Schlegel. I'm a co-author on that. And that bill actually came as a result. We saw some really tragic incidents. There was the incidents with Mr. Toops. And there was another one actually right outside of my district here. And in both of those instances, there's a 30-day period in which the DA's office can move a trial from juvenile to adult court. And the DA's office in Orleans Parish missed that deadline. And so what this would, I believe Rep. Schlegel worked with some other DAs around the state, and they said, it would be helpful if we had 60 days. So what we're doing is we're expanding that from 30 days to 60 days. So it gives the DA's office an additional 30 days to evaluate that case in cases where they're looking to move it from juvenile to adult court.
All right. We appreciate your time. Really quickly, before we let you go, you have a bill that came up just a couple of days ago in the legislature. I know we're going to pivot here. We'll do it in about 30 seconds. You had a bill that came up that dealt with veterans and people living with disabilities getting a property tax break in the city of New Orleans. Your bill came out of the House committee. If you could just explain that. A lot of people are interested in that, and your bill was essentially to clarify that for people in New Orleans.
Sure. So for veterans with disabilities, with a disability rating, there was constitutional amendment number 2 on the November 2022 ballot. Overwhelmingly passed, I believe in Orleans Parish passed with 68% of the vote. That bill did not have a specific start date. And so as we know, in Orleans Parish, we pay our property taxes in the beginning of the year. Every other parish in the state pays it in the end in arrears. And so what happened was the Orleans Parish rolls had already gone to the tax commission, had been approved. Then the constitutional amendment passed. So veterans who were expecting to receive this exemption when the bills came out in January did not have it reflected on that January bill. So what we're doing with this statutory companion basically is we're saying, hey, look, the intent of this was that it apply in 2023, that veterans get this benefit for taxes owed in 2023, regardless of what parish they live in. So hopefully we will be able to achieve that benefit for our Orleans Parish veterans for 2023.
All right. State Representative Stephanie Hilferty, busy at the session. It's going to be a busy time in Baton Rouge. We appreciate you joining us. You can see this entire segment on 2 big issues. Obviously, property taxes in New Orleans and crime all across Metro New Orleans and what's being done at the state capitol to try to combat violent crime. You can see it all on WDSU.com starting on Monday morning.